PB, pre-Balto, we had a 400 plus page digital document that we were searching from within. So picture you've got a caller on the line, you know, they're calling about something that you're not used to getting a call on, because we take a ton of different calls in the claims department. So you're using your control F function through this 450 page document, and you're trying to find what you're looking for so that you know that you're helping this customer in the most best and efficient way and getting them headed down the right path. With Balto, we don't have to do that. It listens to what that customer needs based on how we then put the information into our playbooks, and it pops that information up real time right there. You don't have to search. Right there it is. So I cannot tell you how excited our teams were to not have to search through that document and keep that customer on the line for so long. And something we also focus on, which is the second item there, is placing the callers on hold. If you're like me, you probably don't want to listen to too much of that elevator music. And, you know, we try to, for good customer experience, not have the customer on hold for more than we have to. Because it's, you know, they don't want to listen to that music. They've called in because they need help, and, you know, they want to get that as quickly as possible. So we've been able to continue to cut down our hold time because, again, those resources pop up based on the conversation, and you're not having to take extra time to find what you're looking for. It's readily available. It's right there. Another piece is we randomly pull calls. You know, everybody has a quality assurance or an audit platform or format that they may use. But this allows you, instead of having to randomly go in and pull calls, to look at the dashboard and immediately notice trends, see data, not only focus on constructive feedback, you know, that's always needed, but also you can focus on the positive feedback. The agents, as you know, they want to hear that positive just as much as they want to improve upon things that they're doing. So, you know, lead with the positive. This makes it easy to do that. You don't have to listen to a 20-minute call to find something. It's right there. You can pick it out. And then when you see it, then you can go and find the call very easily and listen to it from there. So it makes it a lot easier as far as that goes. Another piece, you know, in the office, we would go around to folks' desks and we would pull off those sticky notes. Like, why do you still have this? This is really old. We stopped doing this process, you know, weeks ago. And we'd pull those sticky notes off and throw them in the trash. And with Balto, there's no need for sticky notes. You don't need that. You don't have to trash your old information, because you can go in and easily update that information. One of my absolute favorite things about Balto is, as an admin, I can go in and update something. It is available for the employee on their very next call. It's there like that, in a snap of a finger. And I did not have to engage IT or, you know, have any other type of intervention on that. So that's definitely a huge win in my eyes. Trey, I'm going to pass it off to you.
Thank you, Julie. So I want to talk about the checklist that Julie was talking about earlier. Our goal with Balto, and really with everything in our department, is to utilize technology as best we can. Utilize technology to make things easier for the employee, but it all goes back to customer experience. You know, I'm a customer experience manager. I say it 10 times a day, but you know, my goal is, our entire goal is to make sure we're providing a good customer experience. It's a little bit different with claims. In the claims call center, we file new loss claims. Our outcomes are different than a sales contact center. You know, people don't call us when they're having a great day. That's what I always tell people when we're interviewing or hiring, you know, new employees. You know, people don't, I don't know about you, but I don't call my claims department of my insurance company, you know, just because I'm calling because I'm having a great day. That being said, people call us when they're upset, right? They've had a car accident, something's gone bad in their life. And you have a lot of different callers that call in. You know, we talk about the drivers, the callers on the other end of the phone who, you know, want to take control of the call and overtake your agent. You have the talker who wants to talk about everything else other than that. Leads to a lot of distraction. what we were able to do with Balto is take a software that was, mostly designed around sales and utilize that in a claims operation capacity. We're able to use the checklist. As you can see, their checklist on the right has things they're checking off. We're able to utilize that to make sure that our call center agents stay on track. Claims is a lot about compliance. We take calls for 50 states, homeowners, auto, life, you name it, we take it. So we want to make sure that we're providing a good experience for that customer, but also getting what we need, right? We don't want to be all, just reading off questions to them. We want to make sure that we get those questions to be compliant. So Balto helps us do that. It helps us with error reduction. You have a caller on the other end of your phone. You guys know how it is when you're auditing calls. Your agent will get distracted with something and forget an entire section that they were supposed to cover with the customer. We're able to help to reduce that using Balto, and we're able to build specific checklists based on specific call types. Like Julie was saying, obviously we're working from home during the pandemic, but before, we had a piece of paper that we would print out, put it on a new employee's desk and say, hey, follow this checklist every day. We would sometimes even get them a dry erase marker and put it in a little piece of plastic. I can't remember what they're called, but check them off and wipe it. And then when something changed, we have to go print out the new checklist, give it back to the employee, and so forth. With Balto, like Julie was saying, we're able to do that pretty quickly. And, if we go in there and make an edit, it will pop up on the next call. And Balto can, based on the phone options the customer chooses, display different checklists depending on the call types. It allows our employees to build confidence on their calls. As supervisors, leaders in department, you're not able to listen to every single call that your agent takes, and we'll talk about that in just a little bit. But we like to always give kudos and pats on the back for our employees. But if you're an employee, you may get off that phone call and go, I wonder if I did everything right, or I forgot this piece. You're able to build confidence using this checklist because the employee can check that checklist before that call ends and make sure that they hit everything that they needed to say. So that's a really big benefit of Balto.
Yeah, agree. And the best part is they're not hanging up the phone and going, oh no, I forgot to ask the customer this. They are able to take a look, as Trey said, and see what they missed and go ahead and ask the customer, get that information right then and there with the customer still on the line. So it's a huge win. And the checklist that you saw in the previous slide, that's up, but we are able to drill down even further and get a little more granular on these deck items that are showing. And as Trey mentioned as well, as far as our call center goes, we handle all of it, all the products, all the states. Our employee doesn't know which call they're going to get next. It could be, a simple situation that's easy to handle to something extremely complex that maybe they don't get on a normal basis. So this allows us to drill down further. And even though you have your checklist, you then can essentially create checklists within. So for example, what's popping up on the screen there, if you have an upset caller, we can give you some additional pointers to kind of de-escalate that call. And as well, just give the example of a hit and run, just for example, so that we can gather some additional questions that the person may not remember to gather in another situation if they weren't reminded here. So this is really just giving us reminders and things that they need to drill down further and get that information on the first call. Because as you know, sometimes if we don't get it on the first call, it's hard to get that customer back on the line in some situations and obtain that information later. So the more we can get, the better right there on the first call. And that goes along with, being able to gather better quality as well. And as I mentioned, if it's a situation you don't normally come across, like a catastrophe situation, for example, this year we saw riots. We weren't necessarily used to having riot claims before all of this started going on. So you can imagine there were some new processes, some things that, customers would call in with this information and they're puzzled. They don't know what to do. And we want to be that helping hand on our side and make sure that we get them pointed in the right direction and reassure them, that we can help. So giving our employees the tools that they need, Balto allowed us to do that very easily with getting that new process and new information out to everyone. And also, I mentioned earlier, the ability to populate the reference material quickly, and even if it's changed or new, I mean, that is so simple with this tool. So, I can't say that enough. That still is one of my absolute favorite things about Balto. So, I continue to drive that in the ground, but it's such a huge win.
I want to talk about the other side of Balto for a second. And Mark talked a little bit about this on the sales side, but I want to talk about what we've been able to do on the claims side with the reporting feature on the back end. The way that I look at Balto, it's one system, but I look at it as two different pieces. You have your Balto application that we were showing you that sits on your agent's desk, and I call it their personal assistant. It tries to listen to what they're handling, pop up relevant information, give them what they need before they think that they need it. We have another side of Balto that is one of my favorite pieces, and it's the data, analytics reporting feature on the back end called Balto Cloud. And what we're able to do with Balto Cloud is coach having a richer, more robust coaching opportunity with your employees. We were talking about audit earlier. If you're involved in any kind of contact center, you cannot listen to every single call your agents take. They take hundreds of calls a week. You have 20 plus people reporting to you. There's no way for you to listen to all those calls, but Balto does. Balto listens to every single call and can categorize those calls based on call types, based on the post-call analytics that you want to see. With Balto Cloud, what we're able to do is coach for the customer experience, but identify trends. And what I mean by that is based on your checklist, you can say, okay, I want to track, or your checklist notifications deck, I want to track, like Mark was saying, how many times our employees say, I don't know, or, we don't want to tell a customer to calm down, can come off a little rude. So how many employees do we have saying, calm down, ma'am? We can use Balto to identify those trends and red flags, and really drill down to each specific agent for a day, for a week, for a month, and coach those pieces out. And whenever you meet with your employee, you can go through that Balto reporting and really have a more richer conversation with their performance, instead of just looking at a simple scorecard and report card that you have, with static numbers on it. You can actually see how they're doing on their phone calls. On the other side of that, obviously we want to use Balto to coach out things that are negative and that we don't want our employees to say. But you can also find wins and praise your rep for being able to handle situations. Balto has a really cool feature where you can look for compliments that your employees have gotten. You probably don't, I'm sure you don't hear every single time your employee gets a praise from a caller, thank you so much, you've been awesome, or, you're the third person I've talked to today, you're the best person I've talked to all day. You can build that out in Balto Cloud to be able to see when your employees are being praised and give them shout outs, and use that, as part of their coaching as well. What you're able to do too is group employees by supervisor, group them by supervisor and new hire class, and you can identify trends within that group to see, okay, this new hire train class, they got out of training in January. Okay, it's March. They should be higher than this or lower, and we can use those to compare those different KPIs against each other. File killers, you may or may not know what a file killer is. We call file killers on the claim side are questions, because insurance is such important that we gather information, like Mark was saying, compliance. We have what's called file killers that basically mean if you miss this on a call audit, you could fail your entire audit because that question is so important. And right now, or before, we were having to wait until we listened to that call to find out, is this person missing these questions? But you can actually see that in Balto way before you get an actual call audit on it. And then the notification or real-time suggestions that we were talking about earlier, you can filter those out. That's what you're looking at there, where it says, I don't know. You can see the trend lines, whether your team is starting to say it more or less. You can even build out different things for the season. We look at hurricane claims during hurricane season, or fire, things like that. We can look at those trends and see, using the post-call feature, when those are items being brought up on phone calls. So it's a really cool piece of the Balto experience, is that reporting feature behind the scenes.
Yeah, and Trey is definitely the expert on the claims side when it comes to the reporting. So anytime I need to analyze anything, I go to him. He's really good with that. So as far as our timeline and process on the claims side, it is very similar to what Mark was talking about with sales. We did start with a very small controlled group beginning of 2019, which we weren't expecting to have a pandemic roll out at the same time. But if I had to do it all over again, I think I would do it with Balto, because Balto made it so much easier for us. I mean, we went from not we went from being in office. We did have some people working from home, but majority of folks were in the office, and all of a sudden we had to pack up with no notice and go home. So having Balto and being able to update information, and like Trey said, sort of taking that personal assistant home with you, really made it easier. But we did start with the small controlled group, and we learned that troubleshooting was very important. Um, with any new software or anything new that you roll out, you're going to have issues, whether it's on your side or on the vendor side, or a combination of both. So working together with our IT team and with the Balto team was extremely important to make sure that everyone was set up properly. And then if they did have issues, that we focused in on those and addressed those issues on the forefront, so that everybody knew what they needed to do down the road if they ran into an issue where, hey, Balto didn't pop up for me on this call, or what's going on here. They knew what to do going forward. So really making sure we had that process in place. And then we followed up with regular focus groups, and we still continue to do those focus groups today, even nearly a year later that we've started to roll this out. We found that gathering feedback, as the people on the front line who use it are experts, and they can tell us more than anyone else. So regularly gathering that feedback, gauging the effectiveness, continuing to build on our playbooks and update those based on that feedback has been just pivotal. I mean, we've relied very heavily on that, and I'm glad we have, because Balto isn't one of those things you can just set up and run away from and just say, all right, I'm done. It's going to do its thing. I'll go over here and do something else. It's not like that. As you know, what you put into something is what you're going to get out of it. So we've really spent a lot of time, and I feel good about that. And I know that, as we continue to tweak and continue to evolve and continue to grow, we're always going to need to make those updates. But again, I go back to how easy it is to make those updates, because it is super easy. So don't fret there, because you can get in there and do it, like I said, at the snap of a finger. We rolled out one group at a time when we did get to the point past just the pilot group. And I have to be honest, we sort of did this on the down low because we wanted to add more people, and we didn't know if our IT team was going to let us do it. So we just added some more people here and there because we liked it so much. But we decided to roll out one group at a time based on supervisory teams. And we started with the teams who had maybe the lowest quality scores, because we knew Balto was going to help give them that information that they needed to improve. So we started with those teams with lower scores, and then build on top of that. And like I said earlier, we are still monitoring feedback and making adjustments even today. And not only for our frontline groups that are using Balto, but also for our leaders, making sure that they're getting into Balto regularly, monitoring and using, and if they have questions, that they go to Trey on those, because he knows more about that piece than I do. But it's been a great experience, and we still have a few more teams that we're rolling out, so it's a continued effort, but we're really excited about it. And as Mark mentioned earlier, one thing I can say about the Balto team is, when we decided to go down this route, and kind of when everything was decided, all right, we're getting Balto, we thought, okay, we're going to stop our weekly meetings, because now we have the product, and that's what they wanted. But no, that's not true. We have continued to meet on a weekly basis with the Balto team, and they give us the support that we need, and which is really great. And I can't say that about all of the vendors that we've worked with. So I did want to throw that plug out there for you guys, because you guys do a great job.